Hi, I'm Kristen, and today I'll be talking about how paranormal and spiritual phenomena act as a type of support system through childhood's adversity. I'm not feeling the greatest today. I have a bit of a head cold, so please bear with me if I sound a little bit off or rough today. But I've been thinking a lot the past few days about kind of how I've come really far as an adult from where I was as a child, and how so much of that is really in thanks to the phenomena and thanks to kind of contact with non human intelligence and all of that kind of opening up my eyes to this bigger, broader world and universe and existence that we really have. And so I thought I would kind of touch on kind of my background, where I kind of came from, and what my life was like as a child, and how kind of I turned into essentially a different person, a much kind of more optimistic, calm, happier person, just because of the contact that I've had, and kind of touching on how I'm continuing that on into my children's lives. So when I was a kid, I was growing up in a really impoverished inner city in Connecticut, and so my family didn't have much money, and it was just really hard. A lot of the time, if the phone was ringing, my mom would say like, "Don't answer the phone. It's a bill collector," and I would say more than 50% of the time that was the reason why somebody was calling our house, and it was just crazy. My father was not a healthy man, so he was a diabetic, and he had a lot of like really horrible heart disease. So he was having like multiple heart attacks throughout his life, and he had a like quadruple bypass, and from after his surgery he was essentially disabled. He wasn't able to go back to work, and so that kind of really um, I suppose aided in like the impoverished, like poverty kind of lifestyle that I was living as a kid, and just kind of having like this lack mindset of, this is a really hard life, this life is terrible, and like I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And so while I was growing up as a kid, a lot of the food that I was eating was just like really disgusting. And so like there were like a lot of days that I was just eating like tuna and potato chips, or just eating like popcorn or cereal, and like that was kind of just the way that I lived. And um, through all of this kind of um, adversity, I suppose, that I was going through as far as like money kind of issues, I mean, that wasn't super standing out in the kind of community that I was in, just because I lived in an inner city. So a lot of my friends and other kids that I knew at school, like they were in the same, if not even worse, circumstances. There was one girl that was in one of my classes, like her dad was in jail. Like a lot of other kids, like just their dads were not present, and it's like just everybody was going through a lot while we were kids. And so also on top of just being in this like really poor environment, and um, just like everybody struggling, and it was hard. My dad, because he was disabled and kind of never feeling well and was always feeling sick, he wasn't the kindest man until like his kind of last years of his life. So while I was growing up, I would come home from school, and then my dad would just kind of just be sitting in the living room, and he'd be like get out of the way, like don't talk. Like if he was like, if you don't want to watch golf or watch whatever movie was on TV, he's like, go up to your room. And I didn't in my room. I didn't for through almost all of my childhood. I didn't have a TV. I didn't really have anything up there. So I would just go upstairs and I would just listen to the radio, or I would ask my mom to bring me to the library, and I would just get a bunch of books again, like on the phenomena, and I would sit upstairs like by myself, just like reading them. And so it was like a really lonely, kind of not great life that I was growing up in. And even at school, because I was like really into like ghosts and the paranormal and like watching the X Files at night, like with my dad. It was one of the few things that I like really did when I was younger, like before I became a teenager. Um, like it wasn't like the other kids. Like a lot of the other kids were like, how would I even say it? It's like a lot of the other kids were like into like rap and R&B, and um, I don't know, just like a very different like culture than I was drawn to. And so I didn't have that many friends at school. It was like always pick class and gym, like that kind of person. And so I was just like, I felt very alone outside of just like having a couple friends that I occasionally saw. And I always came back to like just like this thought of like, um, there are people here for me, even if I don't feel a lot of people physically here for me and supporting me like in real life. And so as a child, I would, again, like I would go to the library and I would read all about ghosts and hauntings and things like that. And as I got a little bit older and I was a preteen, I started doing like these like little seances with my best friend. And That didn't happen that often, but it did prove to me that there was something responding, like moving objects and turning objects on, and there really was somebody that was around me all the time that didn't have a body, that was a ghost. And I just thought about that a lot, about how if they can kind of respond to me when I ask for a sign, or I ask like if someone here, then that means like they're kind of always around. They're always kind of watching. And so as I got older, a lot of the things that were happening in my home, just like again by myself, I spent like many years kind of just sitting in my bedroom alone, and not really going anywhere, not doing anything. And so at night, I would start hearing like these rappings on the wall. And I would, after my grandmother passed away, I ended up getting her dresser and like her mirror. And so I would hear on her dresser like these like little metal pulls that were on it, like they would start to clink and make like these noises, like they were moving by themselves. And I think like when that first started happening, because I was so young, I was like a little bit like oh no, what's going on? Like I don't know what's happening. And but as I got older, it became like really comforting to hear these kinds of noise and sounds, and to know that there was just somebody with me that cared, and they were kind of like making their presence known. And so as I got older, I've mentioned this in another video, like I was at a family reunion in another state, and by myself again. And while I was just standing by myself in the front of the property, there was just like this figure that just appeared, and it it's what I would consider an angel now. But at the time, I didn't really know what to think. But it seemed like something good. But I was by myself and no one was there, and then all of a sudden somebody was there, and it was somebody that was dressed head to toe in white, with a white hoodie on with like the hood up, and white jogging pants, white sneakers, and this was on like the 4th of July. So not only was it like super crazy that somebody had just kind of popped up into existence, but to have somebody wearing like a full sweatsuit and a full hood and all that, like in the middle of, well, the beginning of July, is just like, um, it's not normal, I suppose. So I ended up going towards this figure because I knew that like this wasn't human, or this wasn't, or this was a ghost, right? I just knew that this was not a normal person because it just appeared. And it kind of slowly jogged away from me and then ran away from me, and nobody that was at this party saw it after I was asking about it. And that kind of really stuck with me as a child, just thinking it's like, oh, it's not even just objects moving. It's not just hearing rappings. Like now there are like full apparitions that are appearing to me to kind of show me that even when you're alone, and even there's this party going on, and but you're still completely by yourself, like somebody is here with you. Somebody is here to support you. And just like having that kind of innate feeling while I was a child, and I was able to carry that into being a teenager and carry that into adulthood. It was something that was so transformative to me, because I don't want to get emotional, but I just felt so alone as a kid. And to have this like understanding that there was some type of guide or some kind of angels that were with me and didn't want me to feel alone. Um, it was just really important, to my life and growing up, just to feel like there was something bigger than me. And so as I got older, I became like really interested in like spiritualism and like Allan Kardec, and just this whole concept of these beings are around you for like a spiritual purpose, and they care about you, and they want to kind of like put you on the best path in life that they can. And um, that's like all of these kind of experiences, like while going through hardship as a child, kind of morphed me into a different person. Like as a kid, wouldn't say angry, but I was really depressed. I was sad a lot. I just couldn't see any real hope for myself. I always wanted to be an artist, but I just never saw it happening. And but as I got older, like knowing that there were these beings that were there, and they would kind of give like little nudges and little hellos and all of this, it kind of let me know that life doesn't have to be so hard. It could change. And it really is like what we make of it and what we believe of it. And so as I had like this kind of understanding of I'm supported, there are these beings, even if I can't see them, that are kind of wishing me well. I kind of pushed through college, and I had a full scholarship, a merit scholarship to college, and I pushed through kind of like my first real job out in the workforce, like was in finance, and I pushed through getting my MBA. And I just felt like this all of the entire time. I just felt like kind of like this swell and wave of support within me from like these other beings. And being part of the spiritualist church and then kind of getting feedback from mediums and people practicing mediumship that yes, there are people around me and they see what I'm doing and they could see what's going to happen to me and they're like really excited about it. I mean, it was all just like completely uplifting. And so now that I have children of my own, I am still trying to like instill this kind of optimism based on spirit into them. And so, as my life stands right now, I don't have much money. Yeah, it's still a struggle and trying to get back to just kind of like baseline of just being in a stable kind of monetary environment, and it's not stable for me at all right now, and my kids know that. And so even though my kids are kind of saying like, well, why can't we do this, why can't we go on a trip to Disney World, why can't we go to Europe like some of the other kids in my class are doing, and it's like I have to say like I just can't afford that. It's like even though they have that type of adversity in their lives right now where they can't just get anything they want and they can't even do like the types of things that maybe their friends are doing, um, they kind of also know that there are beings around them. There's God that is watching out for them. There's Jesus is watching out for them, and they know that like things will get better, you know. And so my son has seen orbs with me. My daughter has seen like these little lights, and she's seen beings. And so knowing that those things are around and like always watching, always listening, and always trying to kind of help, it is helping kind of like their mindset to be optimistic going into the future. So even if things are hard now, they know they won't always be hard. Like things will get better, can get better. Um, yeah, so I think that if you are somebody that has gone through a lot of really hard things as a kid, like I'm sure you probably resonate with what I'm saying. If you were really interested in like ghosts and spirits and stuff like that as a child, um, or if you didn't like kind of awaken or come into like the interest of the paranormal until you were much older, like you might be able to understand like how if you were a child, it would have made life easier if you had known about these things and you kind of had that in the back of your mind, knowing that somebody was there and watching out for you. And so I would just say that if you do have children or you're thinking about having children, to kind of always keep in mind that it's worth saying like there is someone here. Like your thoughts are not private to you. There's something around that can hear your thoughts. And like when you were kind of going through despair and really tough times, like somebody is watching and hearing and caring about that, and they're trying to kind of help pull you out of it and make everything better. Um, yeah, it's really important for children to kind of know that this is there and to know that their life isn't just what their life currently is. It can be something bigger and better because there's this whole crazy universe, a whole other reality outside of ourselves that we can't really see, but it's impacting us. Um, yeah, so thank you so much for listening today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.